Welcome back to the channel. This is Brian with Off-Road Essentials. Have started doing upgrades on the Jeep. I'll show the first two I've done already. I will do a video on the first one, which was Weathertech floor liners. Very happy with the fit finish. Only thing I wish they did have is a way to access the factory floor drains, like the factory Mopar floor mats do. But other than that, very happy with how they fit, how they look, and how they work. Second upgrade was on the back. Did the tailgate reinforcement and relocation kit. Get the tire up a little bit higher. Should have plenty of room for 37s when I get them. Still waiting on 3 more to show up. Also waiting on wheels and a couple more parts for lift kit. Haven't 100% decided on what wheels I want to do. Definitely going to go with Battleborn wheels. Have ran them on almost every other Wrangler I've had for the past few years, and very happy with their performance, customer service. I just don't know if I want to do street wheels or run beadlocks. Let me know what you think. Next upgrade is going to be ARB compressor mount under the hood. Decided on the Grimm Offroad compressor mount. I think it's the cleanest, best working mount on the market right now for the Wranglers. And it'll tuck away nice and neat, be able to reach it right there. I don't mind lifting the hood to Arab tires, so not a big deal there for me. Let's get going with the install. First steps first, got some Teflon tape on these barbed fittings. We're gonna get them tightened and aligned where they need to be. After getting all the fittings lined up in the last picture, we move on to attaching the precision cut bracket. The longer part goes towards the nipples that we just put in, and the shorter part goes back to the wiring. Make sure to feed this through before you get everything situated in there. And on the, if you have it orientated like this, heat shield goes on the left side on top of the mounting bracket. We'll get these 4 10mm bolts, or need a 10mm ratchet or wrench to tighten, but we'll get these 4 bolts tightened up and we'll move on to the next step. And the last little bit of prep before we get this mounted in the Jeep is getting the filters and the quick connect on. On the back side, we're going to use the 90-degree fitting, and we're going to want that to face pretty much straight down. On the air filters, we're going to run them, one on the left pretty much straight, the other one slightly angled just to go around that first fitting. To get started on the install side of the Jeep, probably won't film this. There's a lot of videos out there on YouTube already on taking the fender out, but we do need to take the fender off so we can gain access to down there, so we can actually get the compressor mounted. It'll end up mounting right there below the brake booster. All the hoses will route up to right here, and we'll be able to air up with ease. I got the fender removed. Glad I bought a bunch of extra clips. I actually bought 10 of them because I wasn't sure how many I was going to break, and looks like I broke 1, broke that, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So I'm glad I bought a bunch of extra. But now that we have that out of the way, we have access to where the compressor is going to mount. We'll move forward with getting that mounted. Before I went any further, I decided to be easier while nothing was in the way to remove all the W-clips out of the factory fender. So got everything removed. Let's move on to the next step. All right, so we have the Grimm compressor mount and compressor mounted. Everything there is as it should be. Next will be plumbing and wiring. I will say the hardest part is getting these 2 little 10mm nuts back on the studs. But other than that, install so far has been pretty easy. You can see the 2 factory wires and the 2-liter that did have to be kind of moved up and zip tied out of the way. You can see heat shield, everything in there as it should be. Next up will be wiring, and then moving on to plumbing. With the ARB compressor comes 2 harnesses, one for the main power feed and one for the lockers. I'm not going to be running anything for the lockers because it is Rubicon. I'm going to keep the factory axles and factory lockers. So first thing we're going to do is route the wiring down behind the brake booster. And we'll kind of loosely wire this over to the compressor. We won't make this connection to the battery just yet, but we'll get everything set up to where we need to. Then we'll move on to running the hoses. In the kit, there's two different length hoses, a short and a long. We're going to run the long to the innermost barb, short one to the outermost barb. Let's get those ran and I'll be right back with you. One thing I was looking at is this wiring has to run all the way over to the battery. I did not want to run up and around over, so I took these two nuts off, lifted up this coolant reservoir. It's hard to see, but right there at the bottom is kind of a slip grommet. Definitely a little bit tight, so lift up. Once you have those two nuts off, it'll lift right out. Wire can run right behind. Keep everything nice and clean. We'll zip tie it to this factory harness right here as we get it ran over to the battery, but for now we're just going to set it right there. We do have both hoses on the very bottom attached to the compressor. Kit doesn't mention anything about hose clamps and doesn't come with any hose clamps, but let me know what you think. Should I add some hose clamps while I have everything here? I guess in the end it won't be too hard to reach down there if for some reason I do need to add. We have hoses up. Working on some more wiring. I got the wiring that came with the compressor mount attached and ran up. Next step up is the JIC airline that comes with the kit from Grimm Offroad. Goes on right there. Just get it finger tight for now. We'll snug it up in the very end once we have everything routed where we need to get it. All right, now that we have all the wiring and hoses ran up, we'll get the compressor quick connect mounted. It does mount right here. We'll get that set up, and then final step will be attaching that to the battery. So following the instructions, I had the hoses on there to start, but they were way too long. So I'm gonna secure this bracket first. I will loosen it up and kind of re-secure it once I have everything situated where I wanted it. So they're just tentatively right there. I'm gonna get the JC fitting attached there. I'll get the hoses routed where I want, trimmed. I'll pull it back off, get the hose barbs back on, and then run the wiring. All right, so I got those cut, routed, nice and clean. Said it was a little bit easier to kind of go around one on each side of that. I thought it was a little bit cleaner. Then I can kind of tie it all together and keep it zip tied out of the way, make sure nothing happens. Found it just as easy to slip those on while it was already mounted up. So I'll go ahead and tighten these, re-secure the washer fitting lines, get all that set. Then we'll move on to the last little bit of wiring and then put this fender back on. I got the wiring ran through. Make sure you do run it through the switch mount before you make all your connections. You're gonna have to undo it and redo it all over again. With the switch, make sure these little arrows, you can barely see them, but make sure those arrows are pointing up. Black goes to the top, red to the middle, purple to the bottom. We'll run that back into the mount right here, get it all nice and secured. Then we'll move on to attaching the power. All right, so I didn't show the wiring part of it, but both reds go to positive, both blacks go to negative. Kind of routed it as kind of around as I could and out of the way. Zip tied on those two brackets, the coolant bracket over there. Gonna come in around. We have air fittings, ARB air filter caps are all nice and tight. I tightened both the JAC fittings at the top and at the bottom. Made sure hoses are all nice and tight. Kind of routed everything away and tight over there. I believe I'm all kind of wrapped up. I already tested it so it won't kick on down. ARB kicks on. You can hear the fans running. should work out perfectly. I'll just get the fender put back on, get the electrical connection here tied back in, and we'll be done for today. Thanks for tuning in, and please like and subscribe for more. Comment what we should do next to the Jeep. Thank you. Bye.